That text is going to go by so fast that we're not going to have much of an opportunity to read it, even if we understood Japanese. So Runner Watcher here providing a very nice service to the community. Greatly appreciate you sharing the comments with me. Well, it looks like we're about to get started, though. JSR has hit the start, Gesellschaft right behind. Might be a little bit of delay between their starts just because of the relative ping between different locations, but we'll get it organized. Also, Runner Watcher, what's our uncle doing here?
You're putting me on the spot a little bit early here. So the uncle is basically saying, Zelda. Zelda's the name of this little boy. He's the main character of the game. Zelda, you're only 13 or 14, but it's time for you. It's time for you to become a man. So it's time for you. It's time for you to go understand the ways of women. There's a woman in the castle you should meet, and once you've met her, you'll understand about, the ways of women and the mystery of creation.
And it's quite a brave thing to do that out in the rain too. That rainstorm sure is pretty short though. I think it only lasts for what, like 6 minutes?
Yes, although there's a category called high percent rain. Almost never played, but in that category, you basically get as much stuff as you can while still getting rain in the ending credits. So in the glitched any percent of this game, when you beat the game in 2 or 3 minutes, you will have rain in the ending credits because of the way the sprites and layers work. I don't have a good explanation for that. And in high percent rain, you basically, instead of finishing the game right away, you go and get a bunch of stuff, and you play it as normally as you can. And there's a lot of weird stuff that happens during the rain phase. Zelda talks to you a lot and interrupts fights. She can actually, not Zelda, the princess. Zelda's the elf.
Right, so Princess interrupts Zelda.
Yes, the princess interrupts Zelda and can actually lock the game. So it's a very strange category, but we should probably go back to the no major glitches action we've got going on here.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. We haven't seen much difference from our runners so far. Small things that they can do to optimize their movement. They don't want to nudge into corners or anything. The more cardinal directions our runners use, the more often they're alternating at between 1 and 2 pixels per frame, as opposed to the 1 you get in diagonals. Well, what do you think we're going to see for this ball and chain guard? Just a bunch of 8 slashes?
I think we'll see both runners going for 8 slashes would be my expectation. Although I'm not sure. Yep.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways we can deal with this guard. There are pots in the cell next door that we could throw, and those do 4 damage as opposed to the 1 that we get per slash. But both of our runners know that it is fastest to do the 8 slashes, and they will get to the princess as Zelda pretty quickly.
And we see just about maybe a second advantage for JSR. So what happened there was just that JSR clinked his sword against the ball and chain. Gesellschaft clinked her sword against the ball and chain guard just a couple times without doing any damage, and that cost about a second in that fight. Not a huge deal, but it's the sort of, when we're talking about what differentiates these two runners who have very, very similar skill levels in Escape, which is not necessarily a place where we expect to see much differentiation. A second here or there is actually quite a lot at this point.
Absolutely, and a lot of people who pick up the speed run, probably aren't going to spend a ton of time in Escape early on, because a lot of people, it's kind of conventional to think, hey, there's not a lot of reward for the time spent, but you can shave it from, say 615 if you're a scrub like me, or all the way down to say like 550 or 555. And doing that consistently actually is really beneficial for the speed run in general. You don't want to be behind by that much. Certainly not if you're trying to eke into the 130 or sub 130 range.
Yeah, absolutely. The kind of ethic of speed gaming has changed since I started watching it 5.5 years ago now. And this was one of the first games that I really started watching, which is why it was the first game that I started speedrunning. Back in the day, it was very, by the way, we've got a great sync here now. Back in the day, it was very common to see runners resetting, if something went wrong in escape, a few minutes in, they would say, well, it's only a few minutes, I might as well reset. But now people's philosophy is much different. The philosophy now is escape is not the hard part of the game. I need to learn how to finish some runs. I need to get to the end game and learn how to play the end game under pressure. And I think it's a much healthier kind of, perspective, not only for, improving your game, but also for, emotionally continuing to enjoy it. And we do see that Gesellschaft has retaken the lead. She gets this very annoying Northwest key rat, but deals with it well and is herself about a second ahead now, I believe.
It looked like JSR still had, I think, Northwest, but it can go against the wall, so it's like not the exact same position. But both of them had pretty bad key rat RNG, but they handled it fine. There's a nice little text box we can skip here when the princess tries to tell Zelda there's a switch on the wall there that we can pull. If you hold right leaving that door, you don't even get that text box at all.
Yeah, and we've got about a 555 for Gesellschaft and a 558 for JSR. And what we see here is Zelda says to the princess, Zelda says, well, now I understand about women and the mysteries of life, and I've saved you. And with this priest here, don't you think we should just get married right now? And the princess says, no, you don't understand anything. You don't understand, this was just the first step. There's an evil wizard who's trying to conquer the world. You don't understand about the wizard. You don't understand about global politics. And you don't understand me, Zelda. You don't understand me at all. And Zelda responds, Zelda says, well, I'll tell you what I do understand. I understand that the first moment I looked at you, I fell just completely in love. My heart was utterly yours from that first moment, and I understood that feeling of my own completely.
Also, like a true hero, though, Zelda immediately leaves and then goes, away right away, right?
Right, but what the princess says is, well, given that you've spoken like this, you can take my heart from that chest. And so now both runners chose to take the heart, and they have the princess's heart to aid them in their journey.
I hear there's even some cruel, soulless speedrunners who skip the princess's heart. That's a terrible heartbreak to have. I wonder if that ever costs people. That would be pretty rough.
Yes, that is in the heartless mode. So much like Undertale, this game you can play in the heartful or the heartless mode, and you get different endings.
Well, we are going to the Eastern Palace. Looks like the streams are a little out of sync, but they're both working their way through the left half right now.
Yeah, when there's stream problems, I normally try not to comment, but for a second there, I actually didn't know what was going on. So we now do have, I'm sure we will pause Gesell in just a moment or refresh JSR. So we are seeing slightly different things on both sides, but it doesn't look like either of them have run into any real trouble. So Gesell is just about 20 seconds ahead on the timer and had that 3-second advantage. And probably there hasn't been much change since the pause.
And it looked like we had a pretty good Stalfos run for both of our runners. They would have lost some time there. We're getting a damage boost here on Gesellschaft's screen to get that big key. Otherwise, we'd have to kill every enemy in the room, so it's very nice to get that. Got that in one try. JSR is going to be attempting that in a moment as well. Also, the room he's walking through, this walkway, this is probably the most useful place in the game if you want maximum effect to practice pumping.
Yes, and at one of the AGDQs I attended, we really like to party. So in one of the practice rooms, we just opened up that room with that bridge, and we all just competed to see how fast we could get across it pumping. So that's when you know it's lit, when you're just in a room with a bunch of other dudes just pumping away.
Just having a pump off. Well, we have the bow. We're going to make it into the back half of Eastern Palace. So far, our runners seem to be doing very well. Gesellschaft with about a 5-second lead, I think.
Yeah, and you saw she got trolled a little bit there by that skeleton. But at the same time, she got the chest turn on the bow chest, and you know that makes up for it. And generally, you can expect, if you have a good second floor, it'll be about 50 seconds from when you enter, I think. Actually, don't even worry about that. I think I'm misremembering my math. But we do see Gesellschaft entering Armos. This is at a very, very healthy clip.
And she attempted a really interesting fast strat on the Armos, but managed to get him down no problems.
Yeah, kind of lucked out a little bit at the end there. But gets a 10:43. Very, very solid time. And JSR right behind with a 10:50.
Yeah, it always feels good to get a sword up before 11 there.
So now what you're doing, of course, you have to collect 3. You know, this princess is a modern woman, and you have to collect 3 jewels to make her an engagement ring. And so you collected the first jewel, and now you're going. You're asking this jeweler. This is the local jeweler. Where are the other 2 jewels? And he says, "I'll help you get there quicker."
And we're very glad that he does, because this does open up some really nice glitches we can do. You see on Gesellschaft and then JSR's screen the spin speed. We release a spin and then hit the A button on the very next frame, which is our dash button. If you do that correctly, you're going to store the run speed when you're in the walk animation when you touch a manual staircase, which changes Link's movement speed. Game gets confused and just says, well, I guess you're running now.
Yes, and it's a funny thing that you use the glitch almost as soon as you get the boots. So you use the glitch almost as quickly as you use just the normal usage of the boots. And this glitch, now it's been around for a while, but compared to a lot of things in the game, it was found pretty recently. And not only does it save quite a bit of time, there's also several rooms that it makes quite a bit easier. And it also comes in handy in certain of the glitch categories, because while you're in the glitch state, you will also be able to clip through walls a lot more easier in some cases, a lot more easily.
And that's definitely one of the interesting glitches. The one that we're talking about that we just did was spin speed. It's a derivation of super speed, which can be achieved through a lot of different means. Item dashes are a very common one. But like Runner Watcher's talking about, you can clip through walls with it, and that would be like a major glitches application of it. And several other really weird interactions. So 1.0 version of the game has some very interesting faults to it.
Now, we did see Gesellschaft missing one of her super speeds and kind of trying to remember what to do without the spin speed. And she didn't quite remember the right thing, but I think in general her overworld movement has been a little bit better than JSR's, and she's maintained her lead pretty much, despite losing a couple seconds on that super speed. I believe we're looking at still a 6 or 7 seconds difference here.
Yeah, still very close together, but you're absolutely right. Gesellschaft has been patting the lead by a second or 2 here and there. You also notice that our runners decided to pause to switch to the book at different times. Gesellschaft opting to do so north of the dam to line up a perfect water dash, or water walk. Actually, no, I got that wrong. Is it the water dash? But JSR did it right before the book pedestal, or the book where Link prays to open up the desert palace. I'm sorry, Zelda prays to open up the desert palace.
Right.
Opting to do so to avoid bonking.
Yeah, so it's the non-water dash. The water dash is when you miss that dash, and you have to dash through the water. One thing I will note is that because of different drop luck, JSR does have a significantly better arrow count. He actually didn't need those 5 arrows. So we will see Gesellschaft probably spending a little bit of time to get a few extra arrows near the end of this dungeon. I believe she's also lower on rupees, and because of that, and because of her missing the torch bonk, I believe, near the beginning of this dungeon, we do see these runners basically. Well, we see JSR taking the lead at this point.
Yeah, that's a lead change on those small minor things, and that's not really a lot of big mistakes either. Those are small, second here, second there, but that's what it takes in this game to win a race.
We did see part of it with the bad RNG in the cannonball room here, which is basically, I believe, a 2-second loss. Maybe not quite that much, maybe 90 frames. But we have seen Gesellschaft get slightly worse RNG with that worse key rat pattern and now with that worse cannonball pattern. But this boss coming up, Lanmolis, is going to be much more important than anything we've seen so far, I believe.
Yeah, definitely the worst case of RNG that we've had yet in the run. Key rats, they're not too important compared to this. So when it comes to Lanmolis, and we don't have a whole lot of rooms before that, so I'll explain it now. The boss spawns 3 worms that jump up from the sand. The original spawning position is predetermined every time for the first cycle, but the path and the length of the flight of each Lanmolis when they jump is random. So this is probably the hardest thing to do consistently and fast. Our runners will hopefully be getting a 3 cycle. A 4 cycle is pretty good too, but anything longer than that, they're wasting quite a lot of time.
Yeah, and we did see in Gesellschaft's race against Wolfie the other day, probably Lanmolis was the biggest time loss. So we will be watching closely. She skips the next 5 arrows. She's feeling confident about 21 arrows. Let's watch both runners Lanmolises.
Ideally, we get 2 arrows into each one in the beginning phase. JSR actually recovers that, but he doesn't get the 3rd one. Looks like Gesellschaft has put at least 1 into each of these. Pretty well so far, but JSR getting really nice arrows.
Yeah, really wonderful fight from JSR. He's going to have a very early 3 cycle. Oh no, I had miscounted.
Yeah,
he had a very early 4 cycle, and Gesellschaft had a kind of mid 3 cycle, and is actually back ahead now.
Yeah, with that, folks, yet another lead change.
Yeah, and just wow, very close race, very good play. Those were very strong Lanmolis fights. Missing the cactus dash for Gesell.
Gotta respect going for the cactus dash, though. That's a really difficult frame perfect dash. We do get an opportunity to explain fake flippers. So what we have coming up here on both of our runners, we could go to the left side of Hyrule Castle to get up to Death Mountain, but instead we're going to use a little whirlpool. So we need to jump into the water 1 pixel away from the screen transition. If we do it right, we can have just a brief moment to put in a direction and then get across the screen. We don't have flippers right now, so the game actually bypasses the check for flippers and lets you swim anyway.
And we did see Gesell having a little bit of trouble. So JSR has retaken the lead here. I expect we're going to see, this isn't the last lead change we'll see. These runners have been incredibly even in the skill level they've shown so far.
And of course, they'll still carry on throughout the rest of the run,
kind of both a little bit up and down.
Well, so I guess it'll be a measure of, consistency here, because some of these, boss fights, some of these dungeons do require a measure of, really doing the same rooms the exact same way every time. Some areas are very RNG intense, but some aren't. And if our runners are familiar with every RNG they can get, this will help them react better here. This room's a little bit of a crapshoot, though. The flying cabbages and squirrels hate us no matter what. Well, so Runner Watcher, what's Zelda doing on the mountain anyway?
Well, Zelda's here to get the final jewel for the engagement ring. And this ring will be so beautiful that it'll be worthy of the princess.
Well, Zelda will travel high and low to get these jewels for the engagement ring. I'm sure Princess is going to be super happy for that. But in the meantime, we got to go to the basement to get a key. We need to go to a tile room, wait that out for a big key, and then fight a moldy worm. We'll also see a bomb jump in this dungeon, which is really exciting. That'll be the first of the run.
Yeah, I also will note we do have Wolfie in our chat here. Wolfie was aware of the tiebreakers earlier. He said for him to be eliminated, we would need JSR to win and Gesellschaft to get a low 128. So both runners would have to beat their PBs by a lot in the same race. Wolfie is probably quite safe here. We did see Gesellschaft saying in chat she feels shaky with her play, but I don't think she looks shaky. I don't think either of these runners have looked shaky. They both got this boom dash and are in the coffee break and looking good to me.
Yeah, I'm always impressed to see a first try boom dash as well. I mean, that's 3 perfect inputs on the same frame. So very nice to see that. I mean, but that does give our runners almost perfect sync. They walk down the stairs in almost the exact same frame.
Yeah, and I will say, if you're not going to get that boom dash first try, if you're gonna hit the switch in extra time, it's never worth it because hitting the switch, there is lag associated with it. So like many strats, I recommend do it if you can get it. And Gesell both runners kind of doing their own thing here in this beta room. Neither doing either of the standard strats, and I would say both losing a bit of time there. But it's okay if you do it creatively.
Yeah, it's kind of typical to knock one of them into the hole and then hit the other 2 with pots, right?
Yeah, and one strat is to use the same sword slash to hit the switch and knock them into the hole. We do see both runners came here from Rando, and you do see some strats that are coming from Rando. That bomb jump on Gesell's side is a bomb jump that was developed by random runners.
I have also seen a difference. Ooh, JSR taking a fall with a bumper skip. That's a bit of a time loss there. Ouch. But I have also seen Gesellschaft doing some interesting bomb strats where she'll pick up a bomb and hold it and toss it the last second and still get the 2-pixel frame window. I don't know how people do that, but it's nice to see the crossfade between NMG and Rando. There's a lot of learning done across both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
We only need 6 hits to take down Moldorm. Gesellschaft finishes up her fight, but JSR here has one heart to work with, can't afford to take a hug.
Yeah, we got to worry a little bit about JSR here. But no, he makes it through. Makes it through just fine. He does not get the sub 23, but that's okay. I don't think Gesell had quite a sub 23 either, looking at the sword up time. Maybe something like a 23:02 for Gesellschaft. So really quite fine pace for both of them. And now all we need to do is Zelda has to get the sword. That's part of the proposal ceremony for the princess. That's beyond my lore capabilities to know why. But we will see. Is it actually possible for them to get married? We will have to see.
Well, so leaving the Moldorm fight, it looked like they were about 11 seconds apart. So Gesellschaft does gain the lead again throughout this split. So like you were talking about before, it's pretty likely we'll trade, leads a couple times here. We also see both of our runners picking up tree rupees. So how tree rupees work is you're going to if you kill an enemy and pull the tree, you get a tier 1 pull, which is just 4 green rupees. If you kill 4 enemies and take damage, you get a tier 2 pull, which is blue rupees. And if you kill 4 enemies taking no damage, you get 4 red rupees. So we need 110 for Palace of Darkness. We're going to use 2 pulls. The first one we get after Death Mountain and Tower of Hera. The second, we'll kill 3 enemies on the way to the Master Sword and use sword beams and some nifty laser sword strats to get the last one on our way through the through Lost Woods.
Yeah, we do see Gesellschaft with 23 rupees. She really wants to have exactly 24 here, so just 1 down. She'll probably pick up an extra pot in Aghanim's castle, in Aghanim's tower, or maybe she'll try and pick up a drop from some guard or another during the castle. We do see they both have exactly 9 arrows and exactly 1 bomb. And that's more than enough for their purposes for now.
One thing that some runners will default to is, actually, I'm Gesellschaft picking up the mushroom, so there's a good chance we'll get either do fake powder or we'll get powder later on. But one thing that runners can sometimes rely on if they're short on rupees, in Gesellschaft's case, she's 1 rupee shy because we're going to get 6 in the castle tower. But you could use a boomerang to stun an enemy, and then they'll always drop a green rupee. So if there's an opportunity, maybe like the Circle of Pots room, where we're going to kill an enemy anyway with boomerang equipped, that's probably the best case scenario.
We did see 2 green rupees dropped from bushes, so it may be that she's not quite aware of the situation, or it may be that she's just planning on rectifying it right before getting into the Palace of Darkness rather than here. We do see Scrivo in chat pointing out something interesting. At 9 arrows... Oh no, never mind. Dark Magician correcting us. So she must have gotten a drop at some point.
Yeah, that seems likely. I mean, Lemuelus is a very difficult fight to land every arrow on. Almost impossible. I mean, you got to be an absolute god at this game.
We do see the Pui Gold Knights going perfectly for Gesellschaft. And now she's going to do the prize pack manipulation strat. Just a very beautiful first 2 rooms. Those are rooms that personally I find quite difficult to get perfectly every time. And they're very important rooms. It's very easy to lose a lot of time. Aghanim's Tower in general is an underrated dungeon, much more difficult than people sometimes give it credit for. Gesellschaft showing her practice off.
Yeah, not only that, but another chest turn. I mean, that's a frame perfect input, isn't it? Like you hit down immediately after you open the chest.
Yeah, and it's frame perfect and it saves exactly 1 frame. So it's pretty much completely for swag. If you get every chest turn, if you go for every chest turn in the game and you get all of them but 1, you lose time for missing the 1.
Wow. But it looks really cool though. I mean, I've definitely been impressed by that. I've already seen like 2 or 3 in this run.
We do see the gap between Gesellschaft and JSR has widened a little bit. Gesell's execution so far in this Aghanim's Tower has been spot on. We do see a little bit of a missed menu here. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. We did mention before about prize pack manipulation. I kind of want to explain that because basically the way that this game handles enemy drops when you kill them, for most prize packs, because enemies belong in a group called a prize pack, and they all share that same drop rate. For the most part, most drops are going to be 50% chance of dropping, some are 100. But the ones that those blue knights were in the second room of Aghanim's Tower, we dash through them because dashes, when you kill enemies, never drop items. We do that because the second drop in that prize pack is a fairy, and we want that for later on in the game when we are going to kill a Pokey in Turtle Rock, right before the Chain Chomp room.
Yeah, I want to point out, very good execution from Gesell. She's still down that 1 rupee. Hopefully she sees that, because if you don't see that, well, I think she's reading chat, so if she's not hearing me say that, she'll see chatters saying it. Gonna be very easy for her to find that 1 rupee just by stunning a Popo and then killing it before Palace of Darkness. That'll take just a few seconds. We did see JSR having a very rough Circle Pots room. That's one of the most RNG-filled rooms in this tower, and if you don't know every RNG, you will occasionally lose like 5 whole seconds there. Gesell on her 3rd blue ball opportunity is 1 of 2, and perhaps you can explain about blue ball Zeta.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a 50-50 chance of getting one. The way the entire fight, though, works, it's a 5 attack cycle. So the first attack is always a reflective shot. It's your good old classic Zelda volleyball. And Zelda is the best volleyball player in Hyrule. So the second, third, and fourth attack in the cycle have that 50-50 chance. The blue ball attack is a waste of time. We want to see as few of those as possible. The fifth attack is a lightning attack that we cannot dodge. You see it on JSR's screen. I haven't seen how many Gesellschaft has had so far for blue balls. I think 2, maybe 3.
I believe she's had 3 so far. And yeah, looks like she will finish with 3.
The best luck you can have is 0. That is possible. And if you hit every guaranteed shot, the worst is 15, which some people in our chat have actually had happen to them twice.
Yeah, and we did see Giselle in her last race where she PB'd with a 130.20. She did get 0. JSR's PB 129.20, so just one difference between them. And they both get 3 blue balls, so I have to say I'm glad about that. The closeness of this race and the high stakes of it, I would be very disappointed. Although it could have been exciting.
And not only that, but the 3 blue balls is pretty much the average for most runs, so they're pretty okay about that, I imagine. I would feel pretty neutral myself.
Yeah, and especially knowing the situation, playing for the tournament rather than playing for PBs, and I know both of these racers are people who they both care about this tournament and about tournaments in general. They both want to advance. They're not going to be thinking about PBs right now as much. So they're both happy to have the equal amount. You know, it's the difference between 0 blue balls and 3 blue balls is much smaller than the difference between 3 blue balls and 15 blue balls. I hope the math is clear to everybody on that.
Oh, and Gesellschaft did get that extra rupee we were talking about, so we're all set there. But you raise a really good point, though. Like, every cycle, that 5th attack is completely wasteful. You don't have any RNG based on that. And so if you have an extra cycle, you're waiting through a pretty long attack.
Yeah, plus just the 12 versus 3 element of it all.
But it also does make a difference between, say, like 4 or 5 compared to 3, and so on and so forth. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to look at the time loss of Aghanim, but yeah, we're happy to see few.
Now, you do see a slight time save for JSR there. He didn't do it perfectly, but you saw that he paused his dash and waited for the monkey to catch up with him.
Yeah, that cutscene's really slow, particularly if Kiki the monkey has to basically run up to you and then jump up to the top. So there's a pretty nice time save there. It's pretty free as well. Just got to make sure you turn around before you walk through that trigger. Well, we're looking at about 10 seconds between these runners. It'd be interesting to see if pause buffers becomes a factor in this lead.
I have to say this is there haven't been any major mistakes. This is one of the most consistently close races we've seen yet. I'm very sad that one of these runners has to be eliminated. We do see Gesellschaft has just reminded me, looking at her menu, we do see that mushroom. We will have to see if that safety comes into play when she goes to get the powder. I believe she does not get it during the Thieves Town split. If I remember correctly, she goes to get it during the ice split. So a little bit faster, but also does not have that safety for Thieves and Skull. We'll see if that enters into it. Just many, many variables here that could completely change things.
Yeah, and it is smart to get the powder if you don't need it until, like, say, Misery Mire or Turtle Rock or something like that. It is very smart to get it right before Ice Palace. It's the most efficient time in the run to grab that safety. You can grab it as soon as Desert Palace, though. I mean, even before then. Some runners will opt to. We get a bomb jump here out of Gesellschaft and then JSR right behind. We're going to drop a bomb on a perfect Y-axis pixel and throw a bomb across, and then we just got to put Link on another perfect Y-axis pixel, all while this bridge is collapsing. Gesellschaft doing it with the free pause buffers that we get from switching items. JSR only had a couple of extra.
Yeah, very beautiful from Giselle. And you did see I don't know if it was on purpose, but she had to deal with possibly a small mistake there where she placed the bomb upwards first, the bomb that she had to throw, before placing the bomb that was actually going to get her across. I don't know if that was purposeful. We do see her taking some damage here. She will probably get all 3 heart pots in this room coming up here, which will lose her a little time. But certainly her bomb jump was faster, and she's had just a spicy Palace of Darkness so far.
Yeah, I'd call it that. I mean, and that recovery for that bomb jump, it's such a small window. I mean, that bridge collapses way faster when you're coming from the south door compared to the north. So very heads up to not fall to that. That's one of the hardest things to practice in this game.
And we got 3440 from Gesell on this. We do see JSR is going to lose a bit of time on that room and also from getting arrows. And we've got a 14 seconds difference at this point. That arrow advantage will probably save some time later on. Both looking quite healthy on bombs, I believe.
Yeah, so at this point, as far as arrow drops go, there's not a lot of places you can get them. Then the time it takes to get them, if this lead were to come back, close to each other again, those arrows could really cost Gesellschaft later. But for now, has enough. I mean, we're not going to need too many for a while.
And now we're coming up on the Helmasaur King, and that heart of the princesses. This is probably the single most important place in the game for it, because this king is a linebacker, and he will just run straight at you. Gesellschaft, her strats, I don't know, very, very brave in places, and just goes for the fast strat, and
wow,
just incredible fight. I don't even know what to say. Pretty much literally perfect textbook. I am speechless at this fight.
I mean, do you call that last swordsman intentional? I mean, we're getting arrow strats out of JSR as well.
Yeah, like I said, we do have runners who are coming from Rando and are used to playing with all sorts of different kinds of equipment, and all sorts of different kinds of health situations. JSR, to my mind, is somebody who, in some places, is still using ideas from his randomizer runs, and I have to say, it looks like it's working decently well for him. But Gesellschaft's fight was just the technically perfect fight. Was not using any half measures or any safe strats or any compromises. And her uncompromising style is netting her an increased lead at this point. Just incredibly impressive stuff. And a 36-59 sword up, as we have this other woman. Now, what's happening through these dungeons in the Dark World is the princess is testing Zelda and says, you need to... The princess is basically showing Zelda a series of other women and seeing if Zelda's love is true.
Kind of ominous at the end to say that may the way the hero lead of the Triforce. I think she really is testing Zelda at this point. I agree with you.
Now we're seeing our first item dash using that hammer. And that's just 2 simultaneous input.
Yep, that's something unique to the 1.0 version of the game. You can't do that on the later versions and the patch versions of it. But item dashing is very handy. It's not necessarily going to save us crazy amounts of time in most situations, but for the most part, if you know how to do it, it's relatively free. I mean, like Runner Watcher mentioned, it's just 2 inputs on the same frame. So if you can press 2 buttons at the same time. But there are a lot of really nice looking as well ways to save time doing it.
Now, we did see JSR getting hit by that bird, I believe. We're getting hit by something that costs 2 hearts. Not necessarily deadly yet for Thieves Town. Certainly maybe a little stressful. It may be that, I may have died in Thieves Town in a similar situation in my first race in this tournament. Not saying I did, but not saying I didn't.
It's a very punishing place to take a death, though, and it's not so much a time sink to get back to the boss for Blind. It's just really rough because Blind himself changes his position, so you don't have a predictable fight like you did the first time around. Very easy to get into a death loop there.
And we do see Gesellschaft going ahead and waiting to get the powder till later, or perhaps she will stick to using fake powder if she thinks she needs it once she has the. I believe it's easiest to fake powder with the King of Samaria. So we will just see what choices she makes. She does go for this nice spin speed strat here. That saves a little time. One of the probably one of the least common spin speed strats to do.
Not only that, but I mean, if you mess it up at all, it's pretty much a time sink. So I mean, runners really got to get it on their first try.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody in chat just saying how close this race is, how exciting it is. I love this race. Me too. This is everything I expected it to be.
And more.
I just hope that yes, actually it has been better than I could have expected. I'm still a little breathless from that Helmasaur King fight. So
yeah, I mean, at this point, I still have to wonder, like, is that sword spin intentional? If not, I mean, great. But if it was, it looked really sweet. Well, Thieves Town here is a very fast dungeon. It is a little perilous in the back half, though. JSR getting a pretty nice fairy drop that he didn't really need too much, but it's good to get that full health walking in here. He could have bonked some trees for some apples as well on his way to the portal, but that's a very handy place to get the heal. As far as the back half goes, though, there are a lot of rooms that can do quite a lot of damage, and Blind himself is the most punishing, I would say the most punishing boss to die to, but certainly not the most time-intensive to return to.
Yeah, in that apple tree room, just to go back, we did see JSR going around the right side, which is significantly slower. And I thought he was going to get the apples, but then he didn't. The overworld has just been one place that Gesellschaft has consistently saved time. JSR, it seems, just hasn't necessarily practiced the overworld as much as the dungeons, and it's understandable why. But just a few places where his strats are just not quite as spicy. We did see Gesellschaft having some trouble with the Hellway dash. She got the pixel, but you need the pixel and the RNG.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing about it. It's pixel perfect for the X coordinate, and sometimes you just can't get it. Doesn't look like JSR is attempting the God Pixel, but actually having very similar luck to Gesellschaft as far as the RNG goes there.
Yeah, both of them just having to kind of wait until those Packer stars go around, and they were both able to go around to the right. Gesellschaft dodging that one nicely. Yeah, we're seeing just a couple of rooms where JSR. I'm maybe a little surprised. That room where with the switch and the key and the pot, he went around to the right of it. Just a slightly strange strat. We'll have to see going forward whether there are continued strat divergences like that.
Otherwise, though, our runners have been doing okay throughout this dungeon, the Hellway really being the only thing that's trolled them so far. Well, actually, I say that, and then JSR has to navigate around that Patrick Star there.
Yes, that's another tough room. Those Patrick Stars are just some of the strangest enemies in the game. Beautiful conveyor room for Giselle. I actually, I know that's a room that she's been thinking about from private communications.
It's a very frustrating room. I've fallen there like 3 or 4 times myself in a row in the same race. Like, it's just something that, you know, even if you think you have it, enemy RNG plus just some weird movement, it's kind of hard to react there. But we will get the first blind fight out of Gesellschaft. That's going to be 3 attacks per phase. We need to do this 3 times for 9 hits total. The best way to get through this fight quickly is to just hit the head as soon as it becomes available for a shot. Well, besides just 1 or 2 little bumps there at the end, almost perfect fight from Gesellschaft for the blind fight. That was really good.
Yeah, we just saw her get hit once. Sometimes in the commentary, people will say top runners don't get hit in this fight, but it's actually not so much not getting hit. In many cases in this fight, you can get hit and still stay on the pattern, more or less. So It's really being able to stay on the pattern whether or not you've gotten hit.
And it's easiest to do so if you're hitting the head or hitting blind at the earliest possible opportunity. That's what keeps it on pattern. Right now, JSR is a little off pattern, but wraps it up just fine.
Yeah, that is the most common way to go off pattern, is for that last hit of the second phase to just be a little bit late. And we do see Gesellschaft with the sword up right as JSR catches the crystal, and that is just such a great encapsulation of the growing gap in this race. It's now 45 seconds. We will have to see if Giselle, that is more time than it would take for her to get that powder during ice. We will have to see what decision she makes about that powder. And I think it will probably, well, we'll have to see how this Skull Woods goes as well. A lot of game left, the hardest parts of the game left. Right now, this sequence where we get the Tempered Sword is about the halfway mark of the run, I would say.
Also, I had no idea you could talk to that frog from the top pot. Like, I mean, did you see that?
Yeah, that strat is called Just Press A. And it's a joke because the joke is that it's actually very difficult to press A at exactly the right moment. But yeah, if you just press A at the right moment, you will talk to the frog.
You make the speedrun sound easy.
Hey, I don't do that strat.
Yeah, me neither. Well, I've seen a lot of impressive things out of both of our runners so far. This is wildly close for being 45 minutes in. I mean, I'm just echoing the sentiments you had. I'm pretty speechless at most of the things we've seen so far. But the part of the reason that we go in this dungeon order, so we should probably explain that. We did Thieves Town, which is, I guess, traditionally or numbered order would be number 4 in the dungeon order. We're going to skip Swamp Palace, and we're going to come to, oh, no offense, Gesellschaft today, unfortunately. But we'll head to Skull Woods next, because we don't get any benefit from having this improved sword in Thieves Town. We do get the Titan's Mitts, which allows us to upgrade it. And for the rest of the game, this Tempered Sword is going to be very powerful.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I don't like to talk about rando much, but rando runners will know, you know, what are the two items that open up the most in the world? Well, it's the hammer and it's the Titan's Mitts. And those are the first two dungeons we do in the Dark World are exactly those dungeons. And it's just going to make the overworld routing a lot easier. It's going to get us this powerful sword. We don't want to do Skull Woods before we get the Tempered Sword, and we don't want to do Swamp before we get the Tempered Sword. We do see Gesellschaft having some trouble with this mummy room. Got trolled a little bit running into the Buzz Blob, but actually it turns out just fine. I believe she only took the 1 heart of damage, so I would say she's in okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty dangerous room. Those Gibdos, if they give you some hugs, those mummies will really give you a lot of trouble. I mean, they really want to just like head towards whatever direction Link is. Ooh, the bomb throw strap.
Yeah, we did see side, so now 3 hearts of damage to Gesellschaft.
But very nice to see that. That's a strat I only recently learned is even possible. But JSR's doing pretty well to catch up a little bit of time with the small minor mishaps that Gesellschaft has had here.
Oh boy, I'm just another 2 hearts of rope damage. We will have to see exactly what Giselle decides to do about her health situation in Skull. She does have the option of fake powdering with the lantern, maybe. Or there are heart pots she can pick up. We will just see what she decides.
Ooh, that fall is going to make it even worse. She's going to take a death warp. Well, all things being considered, though, she still does have a lead, though, so this may have ended up being a really nice tactical decision.
She's thinking she's right here, and this is, if I may say so, this is mostly speculation, but I would say this is as much a mental decision as it is a gameplay decision. She's thinking, I need to reset my sense of Skull Woods. I need to get back to a situation that I understand. I don't understand this low health situation. I do understand a situation where I return with, moderate health and don't need to worry about my health. So she loses, a bit of time doing that reset with the death warp, but now she's going back to the strat she knows. She can use her spicy strats. She can worry less, and I really support that death warp decision. Just a very practical, pragmatic decision, especially in the race situation we're in. And we do see JSR having his own health troubles, a lot of health troubles, taking 3 Gibdo hits in the Mummy Hellway, while Giselle gets through Mothula with 2 hearts remaining. So
wow, JSR is down to 1 heart now. He takes the health part or the health refill there wisely, but he had to use all of his magic in that Hellway because of some mishaps with the pot there. So he's gonna maybe have 1 throw of the fire rod for this fight. Gesellschaft cleaning up hers pretty well though.
So doesn't this just perfectly, this run is such a roller coaster. We go from both runners playing so well and going back and forth between both runners' successes to now both runners in heart trouble. And
ouch.
Yeah, and well, this is going to we had 50 incredible minutes here, but this is going to make a difference here. And this is not a good death with that empty magic. JSR now is going to need to think about how to refill his magic. He's going to need to kill some of those Gibdos or get some of those magic pots in this room and in the next room. Oh, and getting that fall, just a lot of, like I said, you have to think about the mental as well as the gameplay. And Giselle took that extra time for that death warp to take care of her mind and her emotional state. And JSR now, going into that fight with only the 2 hearts and the no magic, is reaping the kind of, the frenzy of what he has sown here.
Well, it's very frustrating, but of course, there's a lot of run left. Of course, either of our runners could have all kinds of mishaps. I mean, this is just the first that we've seen that was major. But otherwise, seems to be doing fine with his Mothia fight. He got a lot of good hits in there. Well, it's good that he had a fast kill there. I mean, that could have been even more punishing than it was. But by the looks of things, Gesellschaft, I don't think she even picked up her powder yet.
Yeah, so an interesting decision. Given the lead she had, she could have comfortably picked it up. But she also has been playing very well, so maybe she's thinking, it's not what I need right now. I need to stay with my game. She does have the fake powder opportunity will come after Meyer, and that'll be most of the places in the game where she might need powder. And she also, if I'm not mistaken, is on pace for a good time, for a sub 90 time.
Yeah, I believe that would be her PB then, because she just did get 130.20 in that recent race.
Yeah, just many interesting decisions from both runners, and I love this aspect of the game, especially in a no reset or in a tournament race context, because you cannot just optimize every room and reset until you get it right. You need to get it right this time, and you need to think about, I am not like the perfect version of myself. I am not like the eternal runner watcher or the eternal Yuta or the eternal Giselle or the eternal JSR. I am in the moment of myself, and I need to think about, what do I need to do for this run for myself in the moment. And we see Giselle making the decision that Death Warp was right for her in this moment, and Powder is not right for her in this moment. And you only get one moment once, so it's impossible to ever say definitively whether those have been the right choices. But we will see through the rest of the run how it goes for both of these runners. And there's still a lot of run left.
Well, that's some sage wisdom. Definitely something I'm going to carry into any future speedrunning. Hey, you can only do what you can in the moment. And, I also seeing it from chat that it appears Gesellschaft has planned to not take powders. So there's also the possibility that picking up the mushroom was accidental. Kind of a long shot. I think she would have missed it, but it's a great safety to have for that fake powder. I'm pretty sure that's where we'll see it if we do see it.
Yeah, fake powder is another safety that has been, I think, popularized by Rando, and there's a few places where it makes just a ton of sense. In fact, in Meyer, there's a place where you're already on the Cane of Samaria right before the boss when you encounter an anti-fairy. So The fake powder is basically, it doesn't even cost you a menu there. So we will have to see what she does in the fake powder department. Certainly quickly making her way through ice so far.
Yeah, honestly, I think the only thing that really stinks about doing fake powder is you have to deplete your magic. That can sometimes take some time. Ooh, but we're going to have a really nice bomb jump coming up here. Gesellschaft will be the first through it. JSR right now picking up his flippers, not too far behind despite the death. But this bomb jump is really important. We're going to skip half of this dungeon because of it. There are 3 different setups you can do. Gesellschaft getting a 1 menu buffer perfect jump. That was crazy.
Yeah, and let me just say, 2 beautiful rooms in a row. The room before the bomb jump, she got that strat where she takes damage and then with the damage boost can dash next to the spikes. She can align herself with the spikes using the damage boost and dash through the whole room. Another beautiful room on those pen gators. And the bomb jump obviously was first try, was perfect. And she got the hammer dash after it, didn't take damage from the fire bar. Now she gets the lonely fire bar. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to jinx it if I talk anymore about how spicy.
It was pretty nice. I mean, we had some hammer movement on ice. I mean, everything in this dungeons looks pretty good so far.
Yeah, the only real problem this split was that Giselle came into the dungeon without full hearts. Took a little bit extra time on that room that we saw JSR just going through with beams. She took a little damage in the overworld. And now we see Cold Stare coming up. Definitely.
This is probably the scariest boss of the game, I would say. A death here would be extra punishing. So what our runners got to do is they have to use all of their magic to destroy that shell. They're going to do a spin attack and hopefully a couple pokes and slashes and put them in the corner and be done with it.
Yeah, and but that was actually a bad fright by Giselle's standards. So let me explain what happened. She had her sword pulled out, and she wanted to do a spin to get a double spin of all 3 of the puffs against the wall. And she accidentally released her spin before it had fully charged, so no spin came. And she was able to just use her situational awareness and get several slashes in of all the puffs. And really probably only lost maybe 5 seconds by missing that strat maximum. And chat saying, I think Giselle is the scariest in the game. After this Ice Palace, I have to agree that fighting Giselle would be scarier than fighting basically any boss in this game. She has had no problems, certainly with any boss fight through this game. They've all been very, very good, from that fast armor to that 3-cycle landma, that incredible Helma, and now the recovery on this Cold Stare.
And, you know, I mean, been very effective there. That's where we've probably seen the most impressive stuff out of her. But, of course, all the movement very clean. JSR is not very far behind with it either. I mean, he's done most of his run very well. The biggest thing having that 1 death, probably the one thing that's keeping them that far apart. They'd probably be about a minute apart, I would think, at this point without it. But as of now, though, Gesellschaft's going to be half a dungeon ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say we've got, you know, it's important. I have to say, all credit. We have to remember that this would be Giselle's advantage even without the death. So I just want to make a note of that because the spiciness levels have been really high. I just want to keep reminding our viewers of that.
Well, let's see how JSR does with this fight. Now, he does have a lot of health to work with, having some of the same sort of, you know, just keeping him in the corner strats. We didn't see like any kind of pokes, spin slash or anything in the corner, but that's the big thing, is that you keep him in the corner. It takes, exactly like Runner Watcher said, a lot of situational awareness to react to those to the positions you sometimes find yourself in. If you were to take a hug, for example, at the beginning of that fight, it would be absolute chaos. So it's good that both of our runners managed to keep Cold Stare in the corner.
Yeah, and I would say that was a very good fight from JSR. He stayed very close to those puffs. He must have practiced that a lot because he must have had the exact right position. If I were standing exactly where JSR had been standing, I would have been worried about getting hit by those puffs. We do see Giselle has lost 4 hearts in the swamp already. She got that extra bomb. I'm not quite sure that was the best bomb for her to get, given that she's on 11 arrows. It may have been faster for her to get a bomb later in the dungeon along with an arrow pot. You do want to go into Mire, which is the dungeon after this, with about 20 arrows. So 2 5-arrow pots would be perfect, but maybe she'll just get the one, and that will probably be enough, depending on drops and so forth.
Yeah, and we do have quite a lot of places where we can get arrows. It's just you always want to spend as little time as possible out of your current path to do so. Enemy drops are very, very fortunate because, and they're part of the prize packs as well. If you want to learn a little bit more about that, I guess I'll link that in the chat. But, knowing what you're going to get in drops, or at least having an idea of where you can get drops, is very relevant to your routing choices in some of these, smaller instances in these individual rooms. Being smart about that can save you quite a lot of time, 5, 10, 15, even 20 seconds, depending on how long it takes you to find those arrows. So far, though, Gesellschaft mostly through the left half, going to grab that big key real quick. JSR here is just about to enter the dungeon. This is one of the longer dungeons of the game, just by force of doing some backtracking, and of course our favorite longest cutscene in the game, where you really start to work on your button mashing. But we have crossed the hour mark, and Gesellschaft currently has a pretty commanding lead.
Yeah, absolutely, and she has recovered 2 of those hearts. Meanwhile, JSR, obviously a bit flustered himself, taking 3 hearts of damage on a room that, and no offense to JSR, who's shown that on a room that should be completely trivial. So we have to say that our prediction must be that Gesell will get through the swamp safely at this point, and it will have to be in the end game. We're getting into the harder dungeons after this, the Mire, the T-Rock, and the G-Tower, and Ganon herself. I'll tell you the lore on that in a bit.
Yeah, Runner Watcher, it feels like we're a little behind on the lore here.
Yeah, this has been such a good tournament that I haven't been able a good race. I mean, that I haven't been able to engage my translation skills. Let's say.
Can't blame you. I mean, like, I've been on the edge of my seat this entire time.
We do see a nice high five there.
That's only the second one we've had this run. Our runners have, for the most part, through the first hour, been pretty much neck and neck until that death on Mothula. So nice to see a high five. Haven't had one of those in a while. Though I'm sure JSR is probably feeling on the worse end of that high five.
Yeah.
So there's one of those arrow pickups.
Yup, there's that guaranteed pot. She may get one later, or she may wing it. And try to pick some arrows up in T-Rock or in Ganon's Tower. She needs arrows for Vitreous and Mire, and then she needs arrows for Ice Armis and Ganon's Tower. I do know that she does a strat. She does know how to do a strat to pick up... she might pick up health here. She does know how to do a strat to pick up 10 arrows before... Yeah, there's that health.
Yo, she's going for the double heals, and she gets it! Yes!
Just picking up every pot. Just filling up on everything. She's thinking at this point, why not? Why not have an extra bomb? Why not have some extra life? Why not have some extra arrows? And that's her mindset right now.
She got the double heals. If you use hookshot on those hearts, really any heart in the game, you can potentially get a double heal. It's like a frame rule or something like that. But I've seen runners in 3 different races get it from that exact pot. I'm just stoked to see that. And then we're also seeing a nice hook dash strat for Argus on Gesellschaft's side. Unfortunately, didn't get it right away, but we'll get a 1 cycle out of it.
Yeah, lost a little health in that fight. Definitely a little stressful. Gets the Fire Rod kill perfectly. You were asking about JSR before. I believe at this point in the race, as JSR, in his head, what he's thinking is, if I remember correctly, being in a position like his in previous races, you're trying to make a decision about just how big the gap is with it. So one perspective might be, I know I have a higher PB than my opponent, and I just need to crush it from here on out. I need to go. I need to hit every strat, and I just need to save as much time as I can. But when you think about it, even that might not be enough. So another train of thought would be something like, I can only win if my opponent dies. So the best way to put myself into position to be able to win is to play it safe and to hope that my opponent doesn't. And definitely psychologically, we know that Gesell is a player who tries to to do some of the spiciest strats in places. So perhaps JSR is thinking the best thing is to play it safe at the moment, and it'll be on Gesell to win or lose the race. It'll be on Gesell's sword, so to speak.
That's an interesting way to look at it, and I'm inclined to agree. I mean, in this position, our runners obviously can watch the restream if they'd like to, and they may actually be listening to your very nice voice, and might be making some decisions based on that. Hopefully not, but you have the right point of view though, because our runners have to view themselves within their own microcosm, and as well as understanding the macrocosm around them, and I think that's sage advice.
Yeah, I definitely worry a little bit about my commentary jinxing people. A few races ago, we had a very close race between Dark Magician and Zarby, I think, maybe, where one player, I was talking about his bomb count the entire time, and then he ran out of bombs on the Ice Palace bomb jump. And then the other player had low hearts in Ganon's tower, and I was talking about that. And he died on Ganon, and then I said he had low magic, and he ran out of magic on Ganon. So everything I said came true, so I'm really worried about jinxing players at this point.
It did seem like JSR had a little bit of trouble with the fast kill on Argus, but opted to do 2 sword spins. Definitely a very good way to get a backup in that fight. Otherwise, though, Gesellschaft opting to get the shopping trip done, grabbing the Ice Rod at the same time in this split as Ether, which is kind of one of the few things that are truly optional as far as how our runners do their routing. You could get this after Misery Mire if you preferred to. Not much difference. I think it's like 1 flute.
And let's just note her health situation. 3 hearts is a lot to lose in this overworld, given that you have to lose quite a few hearts in the Mire dungeon. So I would say I would be thinking about that fake powder right now. I would already in Gesell's shoes be thinking, okay, I have that mushroom. Let me think about just how to execute and when to execute that fake powder, because there are required there's a lot of required health loss in Mire in the spike room and against Vidi. There are just required damage boosts.
Also, chat pointing out that we're getting lots of chest turns. After like the 12th one, it's like how much more excited can you get about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another sign of the Gesell is a player who goes for it. She does amazing strats, and
seen some pretty nice fire rod strats here too.
Look at all these hearts. Will she pick up all these hearts? She will pick up all of these hearts. That is incredible. That is truly, I have never seen such a fortuitous room, and it turned out that she actually had to go around and kill the final Popo as well. That was incredible. 3 hearts from all of those Wizrobes, and just refilling all the damage she took on Death Mountain and from that crab near Lake Hylia. I don't even know what to say about some of the things that have happened. That is a sign that that the princess is looking out for you, let's say.
So just to kind of double check my own thoughts here, so that hard drop from there was 2 hard drops on the floor, and there was a 3rd one from another enemy. I mean, that's some pretty crazy prize pack, isn't it?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, maybe that prize pack had something like 3 hearts in a row, and then a green rupee, and then another 3 hearts, and then a small magic pot. Somebody in chat can correct me, but if I remember correctly, it's something like that. There are a ton of hearts in that prize pack.
I mean, way to win some coin flips. Good lord. Well, good luck going to help Gesellschaft here get to the rest of the back half of Mire with a lot less concern about that fake powder. Might not even opt to bother at all, although it would be very safe for Vitreous.
Yeah, we will have to see. There's another Wizrobe kill. I think chances are it won't be a heart in the prize pack next. There will be a heart she can pick up after taking her spike room damage. I don't know if she goes for Spark Gamble, which is another heart loss. We'll see right now.
Yeah, looks like she tried for it, but...
Of course she does.
Well, so another thing to bring up too, we passed the torch rooms going towards the big key. A lot of times that's going to be a pretty good kind of like a key frame for folks who are trying to figure out, hey, how am I doing this run? You know, where is my run going overall? And for very good runners, say 130 or below, and who have really good late game splits, you can usually count on that being about 20 to 21 minutes from the end of your run. Gesellschaft had actually passed through that right around 108. So yeah, 128 is still very much on the table. That would be potentially skipping 129 on her PB, but we're gonna wish her the best of luck here.
Yeah, definitely. And even at this point, I don't even, different runners feel differently about these things. Who even knows what JSR is thinking?
I
Sometimes
wonder, JSR could potentially PB as well. I believe his PB is 131 something.
No, I believe he has a 129 that he got at one point. JSR himself taking a little bit of damage. We will see what Gesell does about this heart, because she did now down to 7 hearts, which is about the minimum.
Yeah, if we do the
there's another heart drop from that skeleton.
Wow. And doesn't even opt to take it. She's gonna fake powder then, right?
Doesn't he? Well, we will see, because 7 hearts is enough, and if she feels, I'm sure she has practiced this Vitreous fight. We're just gonna have to see what she feels about it.
Equipping that fire rod looks pretty clear, though. Yeah, so for those of you who don't understand how the glitch works, you just need to deplete your magic. You're going to get that "I'm out of magic" text box from the Cane of Samaria, and then if you pause and change your item to mushroom, it immediately powders. We're doing the damage boost strats against Vitreous. Ooh, taking a poke or a hug from one of those eyeballs. We're going to miss the 0 cycle, but as long as we get a good arrow here, we should be okay.
Yeah, she did justify that fake powder. She lost 8 hearts, coming in with 7. So gotta say that safety was, these decisions, I have to say, Gesell is showing so much situational awareness and so much self-awareness of just when to play it safe and when to go for it. Not getting that powder, but doing the fake powder, doing that death warp in Skull Woods, reacting.
These have been really race-aware decisions.
Yeah, just I don't know. I can't say. I just love it when players are aware of their situation. It's one thing to just grind out runs and get a PB, but it's another to play smart and do what you need to do in every different situation. And Gesell has just played incredible intelligence this run.
And a lot of those decisions are the sorts of things that will help you out in brackets. Both of these runners will need to be able to have, very consistent races and be able to react in those situations to, things that just throw them off. I think when you said earlier about Gesellschaft resetting her own mental state, taking that death warp to have a predictable scenario, that is absolutely the best advice and wisdom, because when you practice these rooms, you're doing it in the exact same way. You're practicing different RNGs, but when something really weird happens in a run, how do you react to it? Gesellschaft there walking north around the rocks, not waiting on the dead rock. That's a good reaction. Stuff like that is what wins you bracket races. Well, with that, though, JSR is walking up to the Vitreous fight, has 7 hearts to work with, so this is enough to do the damage boost. If we do that optimally, it only does 4 hearts of damage, but getting poked once or bumped into once by those eyeballs does 4. So we don't want to have anything like that happen. JSR needs to be very careful in this fight.
Yep. JSR getting up to Vidi. Gesell only taking a little bit of damage on that Death Mountain.
Looks like JSR getting the 0 cycle. Very nicely done. Wow.
Beautiful fight from JSR. I do have to say that fight was classic fight. Did not have some of the question marks that Gesell's fight has. And let's not forget about JSR. He's coming into this with a death from Skull Woods and just probably quite demoralized, and still being able to show off, with low hearts, a beautiful fight like that. Just all
It was
props to
actually very good,
JSR.
'cause his first sword spin on the left wasn't really hitting a lot of eyeballs, so I was worried he wasn't going to be able to wrap it up. But the second sword spin was absolutely perfect, right in the center of all of them. Well, this is looking really good for JSR to, kind of at least stay in the race. I mean, that was probably going to be the most, that would be the nail in the coffin if that one hard finish wasn't a one hard finish, if it was, a refight. So that's great win for JSR sales here. Gesellschaft just needs to execute cleanly, and another chest turn. Wow.
Yeah, and not a risk-free chest turn either, because if you miss that chest turn, then you are going to lose time in a room where time is of the essence. So you saw Gesell doing that that damage boost through the first roller and then dashing actually, well, I wish you got those arrows, but then actually dashing down through and getting all those drops, all those beautiful drops.
That was a full magic and the fairy that we tried to manipulate from earlier, which is great. Just to kind of explain that, because this chomp room shouldn't be too much trouble for her now at this point. So we didn't slash those blue guards in Hyrule Castle. We dashed through them because that would have incremented that prize pack. The second item in that prize pack is a fairy. We've maintained that for 45 minutes now, just so that we can get it right before that chomp room. And those chomps do 4 hearts of damage each. Just a great safety that you can do basically for free, as long as you know what you're getting and you have decent luck with the mini Helmasaur and Palace of Darkness. But that's fantastic drops. Good lord. That and the magic refill. However, JSR is not incredibly far behind, is entering Turtle Rock right now, so still maintaining about a half dungeon deficit between JSR and Gesellschaft. It's going to come down to how we execute through the last few dungeons here. I mean, this is definitely the most difficult part of the game they're coming up on. Well, so there will be a couple of opportunities where Gesellschaft could potentially do fake powder again. Not likely to see too many of them, possibly even one in Gan's Tower, but I think at this point, as long as we do a decent laser bridge skip, there's no real reason to heal here. Wow, a second fairy! Actually, I'm kind of curious about that. I thought we already had a fairy. I think Runner Watch is back with us.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, Gesell got every drop in that prize pack and got all the way back around to the second drop a second time.
That's insane.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Her prize pack luck has been incredible. There's 3 hearts in Mire and then this. She did also she managed to skip the 8 bomb drop in that prize pack, which you don't really want. It's bad for your menus, but she did get the 10 arrow drop, which will bring her to 30 arrows before Ice Armos. So I was worried about arrows, but with that 10 drop, she's actually at exactly the perfect amount.
I missed it on JSR's screen, but I think he also got a fairy. Either that or he had mirrored after the roller room, because he does have full health leaving Chain Chomp room, which is nice.
No, I believe he also got the fairy. We do see, getting the good laser skip, but then getting knocked off of it after.
And also forgetting that we didn't have a bomb for the safety door.
Yeah, a little, that situational awareness not quite there. She should be using her fake powder again here, I believe.
Ooh, he's getting trolled a little bit there. But that is good enough for the heal, and with a pretty healthy lead to work with, very smart heads-up decision.
Yeah, certainly.
The magic.
Certainly,
she got magic again.
Wow, and at exactly the moment she needed it. That's incredible.
This run has been ordained by the princess herself, apparently.
Yeah, this is just incredible. Some of the things that are happening on Gesell's screen. One thing I will say, she still does not have a bomb. Now she probably was capable of doing this fight without that fairy drop, but given her position in the race, and her actually saying near the beginning that she didn't feel she was playing that well today, I'm not surprised that she's gone for this. She does do the fight without taking damage.
And besides, like, Trinex kind of going to phase 2 a little high in the screen, causing some weirdness with, like, the spin slash, that was a great fight.
Yeah, beautiful fight, just textbook. And we are on sub 90 pace for Gesellschaft. Does have to pick up a bomb, but bombs are easy to find. And yeah, I'm not quite sure what to say. It's been such a strange run on Gesell's side. There's been so many things that she's done so well. Then the fake powdering has come in handy, and it's really interesting. All the drops, very, very strange and interesting run. And just shows you how every run can be different in this game because of all the RNGs and everything.
And the nice thing about these prize packs that we are getting, though, is that, they're not like, some like RPG games out there where you have to have like a 2% chance of getting the item you need to make your run valid or whatever. No, I mean, pretty much everything in A Link to the Past is a 50% drop. There are some enemies that have 100% drops, and I believe there may even be some with 0% drops as well. That prize pack image, definitely something worth studying if you want to do this speed run, because it's a great way to know in the situation, like, what can you actually expect to get, or where do you have to farm something if you're in a big jam. Those sorts of situations are really rough for newer runners. Besides taking a little damage, JSR is doing pretty well for a Trinex fight. 2 cycle in the first phase. And wraps up the fight very well. In the meantime, though, while we're talking about the craziness that has been this race, Gesellschaft is in Ganon's Tower, so this is the most execution-heavy part of the run, I would say. Others may think differently, but we're going to have a hunt for the big key, which we're going to find behind Ice Armos. After the first of our refights from the Light World, we're going to head up to the top of Ganon's Tower through 2 different segments we call the Gauntlet 1 and Gauntlet 2. Which are going to be mostly kill rooms, and then, of course, a Lamolus fight, a Moldorm fight, and Aghanim himself. All in all, though, yeah, this race has been crazy. So, I mean, this is, I would say, Gesellschaft's race to lose, at this point. She's definitely very far ahead. But that's, speaking like Runner Watcher and I were talking about, to the practice of some of these individual rooms. It's very clear that, by the, I'm going to use his words, the spiciness of these strats, that, this is something that she's put a lot of work into. JSR, no slouch either. I mean, he's got a very fast time in this game. It's just crazy to see, the stuff we're getting on the left half of the screen here.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's not forget, before her race on Sunday, Gesell's PB was maybe a mid 132.
I believe that's correct.
And now we're talking about her pace being, possibly 128, definitely 129 pace.
Well, we got an Ice Armos fight here. We're going to delay the actual rotation of the Ice Armos by shooting a couple arrows left. This gets us into position for a really easy fast kill at the top of the screen by the door. Gesellschaft doing just fine, but a bonk on the door is a little unfortunate. Little tiny time loss there.
Yeah, and we're doing, on Ice Armos, we do the bottom right strat, which is a kind of a beginner strat for the normal Armos fight, but is really the only easy way to do the Ice Armors fight. We do see Gesell, maybe muscle memory there, or just playing it really safe. We do see Gesell getting those extra 10 arrows, and now with 22 arrows, she could shoot everything in this dungeon and still have arrows.
And still get some arrow drops, although arrow drops on Mimics is pretty common. Well, so definitely no worries about arrows. We're going to pick up all the bombs we need later on in the dungeon. Health management becomes very important in the gauntlet. Ooh, we tried a bow dash there. That's unfortunate to miss that. It's a very nice looking strat.
Yeah, that strat is good, but maybe a little bit more difficult. She will take some damage on this room. Maybe she'll be thinking about fake powdering in this dungeon. I'm not quite sure.
Well, fortune favors the bold, and Gesellschaft heads up into the gauntlet with 7 hearts left. Not out of this world. A lot of people do take this part of the dungeon with relatively lower health. Having the fake powder is a great confidence boost for this section, because normally you'd have to wait until after Lamolus to get another opportunity to do it. If you didn't take powder, then you're going through the whole dungeon with the health you have. And JSR looking pretty good in his Armos fight. Ooh, enraged the Armos, so he's going to burn a couple of extra arrows there. Now, we only need 8 for the Mimics, so he might not even bother picking up the extras here.
Yeah, in his raised position, I wouldn't, but, I mean, the rule of thumb is that you want 10 going into Mimics, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to waste a couple and miss them completely.
We did see a pretty fast gauntlet. We saw Gesell getting the Ganon Ball Z before the gauntlet. 5 hearts left. Maybe we'll pick one up here.
Wow, she's going for gold.
Nope. Well, we're back to these Wizrobes, which again may drop hearts. There's one, but
seemed like JSR had some weird issues with the Mimics rooms. Like, some of them seem to stay in place. I've actually never encountered that, but it does get through just fine. Gesellschaft with the Sakina Samaria doing some really nice fast kill strats in that room. We got some torch rooms to deal with, though.
My guess would be the JSR maybe let go of his D-pad. The way you manipulate their movement is by holding your D-pad, so if he let go of it, that's going to be why he had the problem. We do see Gesell skipping another heart and playing it very safe. She doesn't want to soft lock the dungeon. She doesn't want to get shot by that laser. She does need this bomb here. Hopefully she remembers to pick it up. Yes, she does.
And judging by the key that she didn't take there and the fact that she hasn't taken any safety up to this point, I get the feeling we're going to get fake powder here.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, not quite out of magic yet.
Yeah, so I believe that the animation's a little slower for the Canis Samaria, and that's why it's easier to use for the fake powder. Nevertheless, a very welcome health regen here. JSR using Fire Rod strats and Temper here for Lamolus too.
Yeah, certainly that health regen taking some time. Gesell just playing it very safe, thinking very much about the tournament situation, thinking very much about her health situation.
Ooh, she's contemplating a hover.
No, I think she was just teasing us.
I mean, she does hover though, so I mean that's the crazy thing about that. I really thought that was going to happen there. Well, we do have some opportunity to lose some time here. Aghanim 2 is a very random fight. We only need 6 hits like Aghanim 1, but has 2 after images which only shoot reflective attacks. Every attack from the main one has that 50-50 chance from before it being a blue ball.
We should, at this point, we can safely congratulate Wolfie, who is sure to advance from this group based on the times we're seeing right now, no matter the outcome of this race.
Congratulations, Wolfie.
And we do see a nice 3-cycle from Gesell. So 129 still on the table. We'll just see how she deals with Ganon. JSR has made up some time in the past 2 dungeons with all this fake powdering and health loss and so forth. So we'll just have to see just what Gesell chooses to do here on Ganon.
Yeah, this is still a remarkably close race.
In her last race against Wolfie, when she was on PB pace, she took Ganon incredibly safe, did not use the Fire Rod.
Yeah, we do have full magic walking into this, so it would be a pretty safe fight to do so. Ooh, getting a 2-cycle on the first.
Not remembering the strat there, but getting the perfect RNG for the 2+1.
Yeah, I'd say that makes
nervous,
up for it.
I would say. Yeah, I would say a little nervous. She thought she had done the slash and the double spin, and went for the double spin after that. It's the first part of the next phase, but she wasn't on the next phase yet.
Yeah,
We do
as
see
mentioned, though,
Gesellschaft-
perfect RNG for the second phase, because that would be the best place to get some spins in.
Yeah, and only, I believe, 1 or 2 warps on Gesell's side.
Yeah, very few. Well, we did get the torch glitch, which you have to light the left torch before the right one goes out, and the right one will stay lit. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to try and grab the fire rod to get 3 attacks per cycle. We need to do spin slashes right as Ganon warps in order to do damage with him without the silver arrows. We need 12 total to finish the fight.
Yeah, and we do again see Gesell playing this Ganon very, very safe. We've seen she's in chat. She may be spoiling us a little bit. Maybe we won't think too hard about that. Very safe Ganon. Just a few hits remaining here.
Yeah, it's looking really good. I mean, getting triples on these fire rods, great thing to do here, but wrapping up the fight.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to have not quite a sub 90, but another PB. PB's 2 races in a row.
Wow, so sub 90, I mean, that's we're looking 3 seconds off of that. I mean, that's got to be coming up real soon for Giselle. This is an exciting race to watch, and GG Gesellschaft. That was amazing to watch. Meanwhile, JSR here is also entering his fight with Ganon, having finished up first and second phase. Moving on to phase 3, we've only had 2 warps so far, so he's getting pretty good RNG so far.
Yeah, and maybe we should just go ahead and wait for JSR to finish, and then we'll be able to talk to both of these runners after this incredible race. The last race of the group stage, a qualifying race for the bracket stage.
Yeah, both these runners putting on a great show. So far, though, JSR seems to be having a pretty decent fight despite not getting the torch glitch. He's got to be careful about his magic because he's got to get all 12.
Basically, he needs the switch to lamp right here, right? And that's what he does. He does what I say. No, don't switch back.
He's trying to go for that extra triple.
Yeah, so when you miss the lamp glitch, the torch glitch, what you do is only use the lamp. You don't need to use... It's better to just catch Ganon in the middle and just go for 2 per phase. You can never get a triple this way, so there's no point ever getting your fire rod out. Hello, Gesellschaft. Congratulations, what an incredible run. There was so much great stuff in that. I don't know if you were listening to the commentary, but there were so many highs of that race and only a couple lows. We do see JSR finishing up with a 131. What an incredible race. He did close the gap just a little bit. That Skull Woods and Ice Palace.
Oh, also, I never actually gave the official times here. Gesellschaft finished with an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 4 seconds. JSR just finishing now with 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 55 seconds. So, wow, GG.
Yeah, GG's. I'm shaking. That's the craziest run I've ever done. I'm like, what is going on? Like, just like in the gauntlet, like, like wrapping around. And, oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah, that wasn't.
I'm shaking.
I don't think
we're.
There we go. I had you guys mute. What's up, everyone?
Hey, JSR, welcome. Congratulations to both of you. Very nice runs. Maybe let's start with Gesell. Congratulations. So many strange things in that run, but also so many amazing things. You had your 3-cycle land mode. You had your incredible fight on Helmetstor King. You had your recovery on Cold Stare and so many great uses of that fake powder. I think 2 of them were completely necessary. And all that weird RNG with those heart drops in Mire, and then wrapping around the prize pack in T-Rock. So many strange things going on. What was your reaction to all of it?
I've never seen that before. Like, I got a fairy in like where I really noticed it was in Turtle Rock in the Poke Room. Another fairy dropped. I haven't been counting prize packs. I kind of just go through the motion. Prize packs are a thing that I'm still trying to learn. I was watching a race earlier. I think it was earlier in this tournament. WQ stunned the tentacle monster to get the stun pack for the 1 green rupee. And so I was looking, I'm like, okay, well, I know there's 6 rupees in the Aga Tower, so I can stun that with the pack, but that's about the extent I know. And then I know that you do the sword beams to manipulate the soldier in Aga Tower. But yeah, that was like, it was very up and down. It's like I would get something like really executionally precise, and then I'd screw up another thing, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm shaking, right? But it's like, oh, I don't know, that was
Well, that one stun pack, the green rupee you're talking about, that was really heads up. That actually saved you getting into Palace of Darkness. You had 109 rupees, and we saw that green rupee pickup. So that was really smart play by that.
Oh yeah, I was so stressed about that because there were a bunch of places you could have picked up rupees for much less time, kind of in running up to Aga Tower and in Aga Tower. But definitely smart to remember that going into pod. Let me ask you about just one more thing. The death warp at the beginning of Skull 2. What were your thoughts when you were doing that?
Oh, well, normally when I go into certain fights, I like to have a certain, a preferable health threshold. So like for Cold Stare, you want to be at 5 hearts. For Blind, I like to be preferably an odd number, but a minimum of 3. So, sorry, I'm trying to remember what you're talking about.
Skull 2, the death warp.
Skull, right? Okay, sorry. So I got some hits, and I'm like, okay, this is really bad, but I want a minimum 2 hearts because you can take a 2 heart hit from Moth, and this is one from Spike. And I like the Moth fight, except for the RNG. It can be annoying, but like actually doing it's kind of exciting because it changes all the time. I mean, it can be annoying from a speed standpoint, but anyway. So I was down to 2.5 hearts, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to let rock. Like I have to trust my ability. And then I took a hit that put me down to 1.5. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm near the entrance of Skull, so I'm just gonna take the death, get some extra hits, and I'd rather have the buffer and keep my magic than get all the way to Moth, die, run out of magic, and have to do everything all over again, right? So I fell in the hole, and then I was like, oh, like I started to go, and that's why I went at the hole at an angle because I was still mentally processing it, and then I fell, and then I'm like, no, okay, yeah, I intend to do it, but that's why I went a diagonal, and then I just held right out the doorway, just took the death.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up, that we bring up the stuff that happened in Skull Woods, because that was very relevant for this race. The two of you neck and neck almost the entire time up until that point. And if you didn't notice or didn't catch it on your screen, if you happen to be watching Gesellschaft throughout the race, JSR, I wanted to ask you about that, had a really rough situation in Skull Woods, losing a lot of magic. What happened in that Mummy Hellway? Because it seemed like you'd missed a couple of fire rod shots that looked like they should have hit.
I don't know exactly. I've recently changed strides over to the faster one, where you go to the right side and dash up, and I've not really had issues hitting that run, so I don't know what happened there, but when I missed the first fire rod shot, I kind of panicked a little bit, and I got through, but I took a ton of mummy hugs, and of course, I was going into the Moth, and I thought, okay, I have my prize pack intact, so I'll go for it. Of course, I didn't get it. And going into the Moth with 2 hearts is never a good situation. And I was like, all right, if I don't get the quick kill, then this is probably not going to end well. RNG wasn't with me. I mean, it is what it is. That's how Mothula can go sometimes.
Hey, I gotta admire your gumption for going after it anyway, though. It's a dangerous position to be in, and knowing what was at stake, and looking at the difference between you guys. I want to say that room probably had a very big impact on the outcome here. Both of you very, very comparable as far as overall time throughout this race. I would say that's probably the biggest thing that was even different.
Well, I mean, just Dora, you've improved so much. And GG and congratulations, first off. I just wanted to get that out of the way. And
Thank you so much.
I wish you the best of luck in the next round. I knew going up against her that I had to have my A game, and I was playing really well early until Hera, and then I don't know, from when I fell in Hera on, I was just kind of feeling like I was playing good enough, but I knew once I died to the Moth that she would have had to make a mistake. I mean, overall, other than missing Torch Glitch on Ganon, which was my own fault, it was a pretty decent run from that point forward. I mean, Meyer was a little bit of a clinch, but the Vidi fight went smooth. Turtle Rock was a gold split by 4 seconds. I mean, I did what I could, but I mean, you can't be upset about losing a match when you make mistakes and going up against a talented runner. It's always fun to be in these kind of situations because it kind of gets the heart going and everything. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, JSR. It's interesting because it was actually after that Death and Skull that you gained time back. I believe maybe after Ice, there was about a 2 minutes and 15-second difference, and then even with missing that torch glitch, the difference between the two of you was under 2 minutes. I think some of that is from the fake powdering. Definitely took some time. I think Dory was maybe doing some of that on the fly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't do it very often. Like my menuing got screwed up because I grabbed the mushroom, but I figured for tournament I'm just always going to grab the mushroom because, I mean, obviously you never know. Fake powder is simple enough to do, and the only times I really needed it, the only times I would really want it would be Skull, Mire, Turok, GT, leading into Ganon, like having an extra hit for Ganon, should that be the case. But I've worked a lot on Skullwoods and Mire. Well, in general, I've worked a lot on everything, but like for Mire, there's a bubble near the end. In Turok, there's a bubble near the end. And then in GT, there's a few spots, but, particularly at the end. So it's really convenient in that regard. So, but yeah, my menuing kind of got messed up. Like in Mire, I meant to dump the bomb and then go to the fire rod. And then I went to the mushroom. I'm like, all right, this happened last time. And then I just went to the hook shot because they're like, well, I need to switch to something. And I hit left and went to the hook shot. And hook shot, I'm like, okay, wasting a menu. Scrivo's probably going to say something in chat. I don't know. But I'll keep going here. And yeah.
Scrivo, the evil chatter.
Well, I'm pretty sure anybody who has picked up powder after having ever dropped it in a run, probably has run into that once or twice. So I doubt the audience was too critical of that one. Definitely have been there. Oh, I haven't dropped powder, but it's very easy to miss a menu.
I actually was, I don't normally have the restream up during a race. I would just like to kind of get in my own zone and focus. But for this particular race, I wanted just to peek at the restream once I picked up the Master Sword to kind of see where we were. And I saw that we were literally neck and neck. So I was like, I guess I'm not getting powder. And unfortunately, that probably cost me any shot at winning. But I mean, a powder is a 35, 40-second loss anyway. So I don't think I would have been able to keep up had I gone for it.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was the stuff, there was so much amazing stuff in Dark World. But in terms of the race, it was the part that you didn't watch that was most exciting because each of you led at least one point during Escape, Eastern Desert, and Hera. You were both trading the leads back and forth constantly. You were ahead in Escape, but then I forget exactly what happened. And then in Desert, I think Dory, you had some bad RNGs and missed maybe the bonk. And JSR was back in front, but then Lanmo put you back in front, but then there was a fake flippers problem, so JSR was back in front. And so it was just this incredible back and forth up until it must have been around that fall in Hera. And it was after that the lead kind of started to solidify.
Oh,
That was actually the first time we saw a high five.
Yeah, I fell doing bumper skip. It was my own fault. I knew it as soon as I dashed.
That's scary.
As soon as I dashed, I knew I was a pixel too low, and I didn't want to stop. I don't know why. You know how it is when you're in races.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah, no, definitely. I look for like the little whitish square on the ground and I try to cover that with my shadow. So I think I was doing a dash. It might have been okay, but it looked sketchy. And in the heat of the moment, I decided to readjust. But yeah, it's definitely, thankfully it's only one floor, but it feels crappy and scary when you do it because like, well, I could have just walked around and saved the time, but
So I would say both of you as runners, you seem to take the tournament very seriously and think a lot about the tournament situation as compared to PBing. Do you think that's partly from coming over from Rando where you don't even have this notion of a personal best? Do you think maybe the tournament situation is a little bit more natural for you, or what do you guys think of that? Either of you can go first.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Rando scene, I'm part of that as well, but I've actually I was kind of waiting for an opportunity to focus on the vanilla game. I was able to get my sub 90, which was pretty cool, and I'd like to get a couple more minutes off that time if I could. But that being said, I don't think it makes too much of a difference here. It's a completely different mindset once you get used to it. I treat every run and every race like it's a PB attempt, unless things get really dire. And it's like the old saying goes: everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And Mozilla dealt me quite the uppercut.
Yeah, we were saying Yuta made sure to remind us all that you have the best combined times in all these games. About
Yeah,
these
that
little
1 through
Zelda.
3 combined speed run. This is crazy. How do you even pull that off? Like, do you do all 3 of those consecutively in one run? That's what it sounds like.
Actually, there's a couple of the runners that we're talking about getting together and doing a single segment race. I came from Zelda 1 originally. That was my first speed game, and then picked up Zelda 2 and A Link to the Past for a big race that we did. They do a big race every September. We race all 3 of these and A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening. And I don't know, all 3 of these communities are so amazing, and they're full of great people. And there's a lot of incentive to keep performing and keep improving. And I suppose it's a pretty cool feather to have in my cap, but not only do I not want to stop with my current PBs in all 3 of these games, but I think I'm going to start learning more Zelda games. I think it's kind of a neat thing to have, to consider that I could go up against anybody and at least give them a good match.
So what do you think, the Game Boy Zeldas or the 3D Zeldas?
I'm not sure. I know Link's Awakening. I have a sub hour in Link's Awakening, but
wow.
But Link's Awakening DX is a little bit different. It's a completely different speedrun, different routes, different tricks. I've been tempted to learn that because Crystal Saber made a rando for it recently. It just came out, and I'd like to try it. But there's little pieces of me that's tempted to maybe look at Ocarina of Time or A Link Between Worlds, Minish Cap, one of those games. I'm not sure yet, though.
When are 1 through 4 or 1 through 5 speedruns?
Hopefully, once I get a competitive at Ocarina. I mean, I had Ocarina of Time as a kid, so it wouldn't be much to learn it. It would just be learning the speed tricks and the routes and stuff like that, and then just getting consistent. That's all it was with this game. This is my favorite game of all time, and it was a real honor to be able to be in a tournament against some of the best, and to be in this talented group with you, Dory, and with Wolfie and Cosmo. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast in this tournament. And it's sad to have to go, but I can't wait to see how it goes in the next round.
Well, what an incredible group, and very kind words. We were very honored to have you. You showed us some incredible stuff. I think you retained an average race time of 131.
Wow.
I believe all 3 of you had average race times of 130 or 131, so very, very close between the top 3 of this group. I'm going to let Gesell have the last word. Gesell, 3-0 as the 3rd seed in your group. I believe you got 3 PBs. Very up and down every race, but you managed to pull through every time. And there always seems to be, every few minutes there's some room where you just blow our minds. Just tell us, what are your final thoughts on your group, on this tournament, and on Link to the Past going forward?
Well, you originally asked a question about, I guess, tournament mindset. So Kaya, I'd like to address that first. So I started it didn't start in rando for me. It started in fighting games. I've been a fighting game player since about 2009. That's when I took it a little bit more professionally. I've traveled to Las Vegas twice in 2012 and 2013 to participate. And so I've been in local tournaments, and I used to go to a local event every Wednesday. And of course, coming from fighting games, you need some strong execution. So things like one-frame links to do combos in, say, Street Fighter 4, it's something I'm very familiar with. And to me, doing that stuff is really exciting. I really like trying to go, trying to, just nail those windows and do those hits. And so coming into rando, a part of that, it's hard to separate a part of that. Rando is very chaotic. I think standard mode is the most competitive mode within rando, just because of different reasons. But so it's hard to separate that aspect when I went from a world that had like money matches and a lot of trash talking and hype and going to local tournaments to a much more friendlier community that is a bit of a different format.
Yeah, hopefully.
But rando's what got me into the speedrun. But before I even did a single rando, I watched Fruit Bats' tutorial. That's how I learned a bunch of things. And I'm like, this is really good as like a primer. And I went through the game because I played this game as a kid too. But rando got me into the speedrun, but I really want to learn the speedrun to help with rando, and both of them really traded off. And so to me, the thing that I've done is I've grinded execution. I've grinded things and tricks. Like, I see, like today I learned the Darkblind Demon Arma strat like 30 minutes before the race here. I was tempted to bring it out, but I was like, no, I'll just do a normal strat. But then I fired 2 arrows down anyway, and I'm like, wait, no, you're only supposed to fire 1. That's I don't practice a new strat right before you need to make use of your old one, because you're reinforcing, a new muscle memory kind of thing. But
well, certainly a lot of really nice things on display today. And obviously, folks, there are lots of different ways to do all kinds of different things in this speed run. You're going to find a lot of diversity between all these runners. So my thoughts are, if you want to see more of this, you want to see some more of the really nice runs from JSR and from Gesellschaft, the best way you can support these runners is give them a follow. Just tune in when they are streaming. Both of these runners clearly prolific in the Zelda franchises. Gesellschaft very prolific in this speed run, and JSR throughout many different speed runs. I encourage all of you to give them a follow and keep an eye out for Gesellschaft as she makes her way throughout the rest of this tournament. And Wolfie, of course, also from the group. I believe that's about all the time we're going to have for this, because we should be clearing up for the next race that'll be on. But last opportunity, either of you guys want to say anything before we switch away from this?
Oh, yeah, just real quick, I want to say thank you all so much. Like, honestly, like, commentary and everyone watching and supporting, like, it's really incredible. I'm really thankful to have a part in it. Part of me kind of wanted to get, like, some of the stress of the tournament out of the way, but it's really hard to, separate wanting to do really well, having that, competitive streak. It's like anything I do, I want to put my heart into. And so I'm just really appreciative for the opportunity. I want to honor it and do the best I can. My own situation has gotten a lot better, and I'm very excited to play on console. Still adjusting, but it's been incredible and very motivating. But thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, I definitely want to echo the sentiments about gratitude. There are a lot of people who make this stuff happen. I want to say thanks to everybody from Speed Gaming and all the volunteers who give up their time and energy to help us make this a reality. I also want to thank, JSR and Gesellschaft, of course, for putting on this fantastic race for us. Very exciting to watch. And, of course, Runner Watcher for sharing the comms with me. That being said, though, greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. I have been Eudaimonistic, and I've been joined by...
Runner Watcher, and thank you, Yuda, as well. Yuda, I think, is our most prolific commentator, and anybody who has listened today will be able to see why. Just incredible stuff, and I hope to do it again before the end of the tournament.
I like that idea. Well, with that's everything we've got for you for this race. Stay tuned for the beginning of the month. We're going to have the actual elimination bracket start. But from everybody here in the Speed Gaming Networks, just want to say thanks, folks, for tuning in, and we'll see you next mission.